This is Your Other Brothers Podcast.
Living in the borderland. I don't feel like a boy, I don't feel like a man. Help me, holy Jesus, won't you show me how to live? I got monsters at my table, I got Bibles bent like sheaves. Help me, holy Lord, I see the light of heaven's porch, but so many of us are born here outside your chain link fence. Yeah, living in the borderland.
Welcome home, friends, to Your Other Brothers Podcast. We are a community navigating faith, sexuality, and masculinity together. My name is Tom, director of Your Other Brothers here in the Jewel of the Blue Ridge of Asheville, North Carolina. And I'm so glad that you're all here. Joining us from the other side of the state, from the city of Oaks of Raleigh, North Carolina, it's our other brother, Ryan. What's up, Ryan?
Hello, Tom. Hello, everyone. Great to be back.
Good to have you back, Ryan, and also joining us from the center of the state, from the Queen City of Charlotte. It's our other brother, Matt. What's up, Matt?
Hi, Tom. Hi, Ryan. Hi, everyone. Great to be here.
So great to be here. Let's not bury the lead, y'all. We're talking about nudity today.
Ooh.
It only took us a decade to talk about nudity. I refuse to believe this is true. Check the records. Is there no nudity episode of the YOBcast going back to 2016? Where is it? Why is it happening now?
Got just about everything else.
What have I been so afraid of? Yeah, I know. Exactly.
What have you been so afraid of, Tom?
I don't know. I mean, I can tell you. I will get to that, what I've been afraid of. But yeah, we'll cover some of that ground here today, not all of it. Ryan, I love this because you and I actually teased this as a possibility when you and I did the 100th Yob Convo cast, whenever the heck that was, last year. Was that last year? I think that was last year. And this was one of the possibilities because we have this big old spreadsheet. It gets referenced every once in a while. We have this big old spreadsheet of all these topics that we haven't covered yet. And you and I riffed a little bit about nudity as like a very real possibility of a topic that we could be doing soon. And so now here we are. How does it feel to be here?
I'm so excited to talk about this because I think this is actually a really rich topic. And it's also like clickbait too. So like, imagine that, like yes. getting like a huge funnel into like a really deep and important topic of conversation here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like inevitable and unavoidable that this will be a clickbaity topic. And there will probably be some naysayers out there that are like, oh, they're only doing this for clickbait. But it's like, it's a good topic. It's like, what do we do? Not talk about a good topic?
Yeah, if we were going to do nudity just for the clickbait, we would have done it in 2018. Please.
Yes, exactly. That's a good point, actually. Thank you. So we're talking about nudity today, and I put this poll out to our Yobbers community on Discord. I asked them, should we record this episode about nudity, ... in the nude? And then I gave them choices, but I gave them choices in the form of emojis. And so I gave them 6 options to vote on. And so getting 0 votes, sadly, was the little emoji with like the furry mustache and the glasses, like, you know, one of those masks, those little funny masks that got 0 votes, sadly. Getting 1 vote was the hand over the mouth emoji. Hand over the mouth emoji, 1 vote. Getting 3 votes was I love this emoji. Do you guys use this one? Was the little monocle guy, the guy with the monocle, like looking a little closer. So I got 3 votes. Getting 4 votes, there was a tie between screaming face, and hands almost over the eyes, but like peeking out of a couple fingers open over the eyes. But then the clear winner of the poll of should we record the nudity episode while in the nude is the 2 side eyes, like looking to the and maybe this will be a video clip. You can watch Ryan demonstrating, me and Ryan trying to demonstrate these emojis. So that was the clear winner. And if you're listening on audio, you have no idea if we are in fact nude right now. Isn't that fun, you guys? They have no idea if we're naked right now.
And we are. Check the video. Yeah.
Or if we were like 5 minutes ago, or if we are now, or if we will be in the next 2 hours, like they have no idea.
Check the show notes for a YouTube link.
So anyway, it's going to be a great episode. I also wanted to say we have a special guest coming later in this episode, a correspondent of sorts. So stay tuned. We've got a lot of things happening today. This is going to be a hard pivot to some God stuff, gay stuff, and guy stuff. But y'all, I'm sorry. Okay, straight face. So Sam Allberry resigned, and I wanted to read the statement from his church because we had some discussion about this in our Discord community. And I just wanted to focus on this for a few minutes because it's happening right around the time of this being recorded. It might be a little bit delayed by the time this comes out. But for those that don't know, Sam Allberry, I guess you would classify him in the quote unquote side Y camp of somebody who has been very open about being attracted to men. He's written some books about it. He's been a pastor. And yeah, it was recently revealed, I guess, that he had a relationship or some kind of experience with another man prior to getting hired at this position that he was with at his church in Nashville. And so I just wanted to read the statement that the church put out and then get y'all's thoughts about it if you have any to lend, because we had a little bit of discussion in our Yobbers Discord community about it. Because I don't know, it was an interesting, strange comment statement at times. But this is what they said. Statement from the elders of Emmanuel Church. In spring of 2024, the Emmanuel elders were made aware that Pastor Sam Allberry engaged in an inappropriate relationship with an adult man in 2022. This relationship concluded prior to Sam being called as a pastor at Emmanuel in 2023. Being made aware, the elders immediately began a thorough investigation. After considering the information available at that time and the posture of Sam and the other party, the elders ruled that though Sam's conduct was unwise, it did not rise to the level of disqualification. However, in January of 2026, the elders received new information about this relationship that had not been disclosed previously. This initiated a reopening of the investigation, the findings of which led the elders to conclude that while the relationship did not go as far as it could have, Sam's conduct constituted a serious breach of trust and a failure to walk in a manner worthy of the gospel. The elders are unanimous in their decision that Sam is currently disqualified from gospel ministry. Sam agrees with this decision and has resigned from Emmanuel Church. Throughout this process, Sam has been repentant, humble, and cooperative with the elders and outside counsel. The elders continue to care for Sam as a brother in Christ and member of Emmanuel. We will continue to support Sam and the other party with counseling, and we are determined insofar as we are able to restore him in a spirit of gentleness to full fellowship in the church. Galatians 6:1. So yeah, what do y'all think about this whole situation? The Side B world has a lot of hot takes, a lot of opinions, a lot of thoughts on this.
I think one of the problems with the kind of inexact language in the statement from the church, I realized like there's a reason why they don't like go into detail, right? But a sad, consequence of that lack of detail or information is that people are tending to probably read whatever they want into this. I think there's a lot of people who are reading into this that he basically had sex with a man and then lied about it. And then I think there are a lot of people reading into this that he got himself into a little situationship, maybe kissed a man, and and if a single straight pastor maybe had a little confusing relationship situation with a woman, maybe wouldn't have encountered that level of church discipline, and so I think you can kind of bring your priors to this statement and sort of be mad about whatever you want here. And so I've been trying to, at least with this statement from his church, just sort of treat it as hey, I don't know the details. I don't need to know the details. I hope that I hope that Sam finds reconciliation and restoration, and finds grace and mercy in what's sure to be a hard season of life right now. But I don't need to take it upon myself to determine what's right or wrong in this situation.
I'll tell you, my initial reaction is just I've been very, very angry, and I've had to work through it. It's like I'm just being honest. That, like Ryan said, you say bringing my bias, or however you say it, however you said it. I definitely, my initial reaction was, well, that's there's what you get when you attach yourself too closely to these sidewise people and their strong theology of sin and their weak theology of grace. And, that's my initial reaction. But I don't know the whole story, and I can't. The truth is, I can't make a judgment call. But like Ryan said, I'm glad that they're mentioning Galatians 6. And I hope that they gather around. I hope that this is not, hope this is true. They gather around him and love. And to any one of us, I was just, the person, I'll say this and I'll stop. The person who has probably influenced my life in the past 5 years more than anyone else, the Christian thinker speaker, is Ian Morgan Cron, like Episcopal priest, Enneagram teacher, therapist. And he is someone who has been attending AA meetings for years and years and years. His most recent relapse was 2020. And he has been so influential to me, not in spite of his struggles, but because of his struggles, just through them, and his honesty about how God is at work with all of us, and and how we steward our struggles. And I come from a world where people are constantly, and I tell you what gets me is this thing of, what does it say? Gospel ministry. What is the wording? Disqualified from gospel ministry. What does that mean?
Yeah. What does that mean?
Anyway, all of it's vague. What he did was vague, and I think just as vague is, okay, what are you doing with the man? You're saying, okay, well, we have a place for you now, and it's on the shelf. So, stay there. Anyway.
Yeah, the phrase "it did not go as far as it could have." I couldn't stop thinking about that phrase. Like, what does that mean? Like
who wrote that?
Okay, Elder Council of Emmanuel Church. How far do you think a gay relationship could go? Describe it to me. What is the upper bound here?
Yeah, what's first base? What's second base? What's third base? Yeah, the disqualified thing is like, is he disqualified because he had sex, because he kissed a guy and he liked it? Is it because he lied about it or didn't tell the full story? Like, what is the disqualification? Like, and is this permanent? Like, he can never preach again. But meanwhile, Mark Driscoll gets to have another mega church, just to throw his name out there. Like, well,
to be fair, he didn't establish that church under the same like authority that rejected him. So I don't know if his new mega church is under some new authority, but I think the analog would be Sam Allberry goes and becomes a pastor somewhere else who doesn't really care what the Emmanuel elders said.
Right. Yeah. No, I hope what you said, Matt, is true. I hope that there is support. I hope he feels supported. It's not like this. I mean, I can only imagine what he's feeling right now with this statement and what everyone's thinking, like just using their imagination naturally of like, what did he do then? What was previously what was known, and then what was the new information, and how far did he go? And like, again, would this be different if it were a straight man with a woman compared to an SSA man with another man? And I had so many people like reach out to me. It's kind of crazy, y'all. Like, I don't know if you guys get this, but I do. Like on my social media, like I swear at least 5 or 10 people reached out to me and said, Tom, what do you think about the Sam Allberry situation? As if I'm like I'm supposed to know what I think or what I feel about the situation. And what I responded was like, I don't know if I'll make a video about it. I don't know if I'll talk about it on a podcast. I don't know what I'll say about it, but at the end of the day, I just hope Sam's okay. That's, I think, my ultimate takeaway is like, I hope Sam's doing okay. That's where my heart is with this whole situation right now. So,
yeah. In general, I don't think we should feel pressure to always have a take or a response, or a judgment. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I just wanted to bring this up because like I know it's making the rounds in the side B world right now. It made the rounds on our Discord. I know it's making the rounds elsewhere. And what I'll say to the whole whoever's listening, part of our community and anyone else out there, it's like feel your feelings. Like don't stuff them down, don't ignore them. Like if you feel upset, if you feel angry, if you feel really sad, if you feel dejected, if you feel lament, like yeah, be honest about that. Don't like say, well, it's okay, or the church, they know what they're doing, or just I think that's something that I really value about our community, just to put our community out there is like, yeah, it's a place where we can be real about things that we feel are unjust or things that we don't understand or things that are sad or anger inducing. And we're here to support each other through all those complicated and complex emotions. So yeah, heart goes out to Sam. All right, moving on to some announcements for this episode. Shout out to everyone who is rating our show on Spotify. Sometimes I just wear so many hats that I have no idea what's going on out there in the universe. And I realized, there's like a rating feature that's super easy to click on Spotify. All you have to do, it's not as complicated as the Apple Podcast rating review system. All you got to do is find our show on Spotify. If you have a Spotify account, just click the star button and give it 1 to 5 stars. I would like you to give us 5 stars if you think that's what we're worth, but give us whatever amount of stars you think we're worth. And shout out to the 31 people as of now who have rated our podcast network, not just the Your Other Brothers podcast, but all the shows on this podcast network, including Your Other Sisters and Your Other Family. So shout out to all of you guys. If you haven't rated our show either on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else out there, go ahead and do that for us if you would. It gets our show in the algorithm. We love the algorithm sometimes. And just a reminder for those that aren't aware, or if you haven't clicked or swiped or whatever it looks like on the app of your choice, but our podcasts are chaptered now, so you can click around if you want to skip the intro matter or get right to the announcements and the sponsor, or go right to the main topic. You can click around to different chapters in each episode. So just play around with your podcast app of choice, and you'll find the chapter feature somewhere. It should be on all podcast apps at this point. But if it's not there, maybe pick a different app. Maybe do a different app at this point. But yeah, it's an awesome feature. If you only have time for like a bite-sized amount, you can click around to different parts. Another shout out to our social media. We are starting to put more video features out there. Ryan and Matt, have you seen yourself popping up on social media? Isn't that fun? So fun, right?
I'm actually not on social media, so y'all get to like
Ryan has no
make fun
idea.
of me, and I won't
Ryan's
even read
healthy.
the comments. I do not care what anyone says in the comments unless it's good, in which case I do care, and thank you.
Oh, we're gonna read some comments. Matt, what do you think when you see yourself pop up?
Shockingly, I haven't thought about comments. I didn't look at any comments, but I think I was just I'm just so taken back at how well we're aging when I see these videos. I'm thinking,
we are aging so well.
Is Tom putting filters on these things, or do we really look that good?
No. It is exactly, yeah, we look that good. It's so funny because I'm putting these things on YouTube Shorts. I'm putting these things on Instagram, Facebook Reels, and I'm putting these things on TikTok. They're like 1 to 3 minute clips, basically 1 to 3 minute clips of our podcast. And I usually pull like 3 to 5 or so clips from each of it's only been the last couple of episodes. It's not like going back to the beginning of time or anything, but yeah, I thought I would read a few comments because some of them just made me chuckle, and I thought it'd be fun to go down memory lane as I go back and look at some of these topics that we've discussed. But we can find our YouTube channel at Your Other Fam, because we have one single YouTube channel, Your Other Family. So at Your Other Fam on YouTube, and then you can go at Your Other Bros on either Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. Now we got a TikTok following. It's going pretty well over there on TikTok. But there was a clip where the mailbag episode, we got so much gold out of the mailbag episode because there were so many topics that just rapid fired this question from the listeners, this question. That was our last episode. And so there was one about someone asked, who would we make a gay? Is there someone in our lives that we would make a gay? And on Instagram, someone just commented Vladimir Putin. So they suggested. That's a good answer, actually.
That's a really good. I'm changing my answer.
Vladimir Putin. And then on TikTok, someone just posted, there's a comment feature where you can just post pictures. So someone posted a picture of Joel Osteen just with a big $1 million smile. So Joel Osteen was that person's answer on TikTok. On the listener question about, is Tom agosexual? Or egosexual, however you want to pronounce it. Someone left the comment. First of all, there were a lot of people saying, "Oh my gosh, that sounds exactly like me. That's my sexuality. That's exactly like me." So I felt super supported. This thing got over 10,000 views on TikTok. So people were relating and resonating with the agosexual, this like micro identity on the asexual spectrum about being attracted to men or being attracted to whoever, but not necessarily wanting to participate in sexual acts with them. It's more of like a distanced type of attraction. So that was really cool to see a lot of people respond to that. One person then commented, though, just very simply, white people.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
And they spelled it WHYTE, white people. I was like, well, I'm white, but
Agosexuality and fibromyalgia, white people.
Is having so micro identities privilege? Is that what that means?
Maybe. I was like, there's so many. What does the white people mean? What does it mean? But I loved it. It made me chuckle. Okay, but then the one I wanted to land on for a little bit was when we did the gay sheep episode. There was like this farm in Australia that this guy was saving the male sheep who were attracted to male sheep and saving them from the slaughter, taking their wool, turning it into something beautiful like the Lord does with each of us. And first of all, someone commented on Instagram, I loved watching Ryan lose it over this. This was one of my favorite editing jobs. I got to give myself some credit here for the video editing that I did, because I started out with me announcing the story with the 3 Zoom boxes on the screen. And then as soon as like the line landed, as soon as Ryan understood what was happening, I zoomed in on Ryan's face, and Ryan's face just like crinkled up with like shock and humor and confusion. And I want to learn more. And it was amazing. And I've rewatched that at least 20 times, I swear. I'm glad this listener or this watcher, this viewer, this social media follower, I'm glad they liked it too. That makes me happy.
Me too.
But then here we go. Roving reporters that are out there. Someone out there said this: the farmer that herds the sheep is also gay himself, and he has all the sheep on a farm in Germany. I didn't research this to realize, is this the same one that was in Australia? But there could be multiple ones. There could be lots of gay men wanting to save gay sheep. So I don't know if it's the same one, but nonetheless, I followed this story because he continued to say you can actually sponsor these sheep like children in Africa. And I want you guys, are you guys on the planning doc? Can you click the little hyperlink that I've put there? Because look at these sheep. When you click on the link, and I'm going to post this in the show notes, you can actually look at the faces of all the gay sheep.
Oh my gosh.
And you can adopt one for $1 a day.
This is amazing.
And my first thought was, looking at those sheep, are those not the most homosexual sheep you've ever seen? They look
the names.
Their names.
Horny. One of them is named Horny.
There's one named Horny with these big horns. Yes.
Marvin Gaye.
Jean Wool Gaultier. One's named Madonna.
There's Madonna, there's Carl, Wally Wonka, Max Sake. Everyone has to look. You have to look at all these sheep because they're so different. You would think a sheep is a sheep is a sheep, but no. Some have horns, some have like afros, some have dreadlocks, some are black and white, some are brown. I mean, there is just oh my gosh.
The camera was in portrait mode. The backgrounds are blurred.
This farmer's gay.
Well done. And guys, don't forget, if you're listening out there, every dollar guarantees one gay sheep another day on the farm. Sponsor me.
He's got the guillotine ready to fall if you do not let the funds come in.
Oh my gosh.
Rainbow wool. We'll put a link out there. I was trying to think, Matt, Matt, you're on our board of directors. Do you think a dollar a day would be a worthy investment of our yearly budget to save a sheep or to have a sheep that we sponsor? What do you think?
Love that. I love that sharing with potential sponsors like churches who want to support our ministry. We share to them that, part of our funds goes towards content, community, the preservation of gay sheep in Germany, all three worthy causes. Please give.
Yes. Please give. Yes. It's such a good cause, I think.
They have a YouTube video on their About page that I wish I had the time to watch now, but I'll save that for later.
Oh, I did not watch that. Yeah, no, I bookmarked it. It'll be in the show notes. Everyone can peruse it. I highly, highly recommend it if you need a nice smile. Nice smile in this dark world. Look at these innocent gay sheep. Praise God, they've been saved from the slaughter. Whether they came from Australia or somewhere else in Germany, I don't know, but they're saved.
Well, for now.
The Rainbow Wool Farm is not a sponsor of this show, but it sounds like we might be a sponsor of them.
Where it's like, I heard another podcast call that reverse sponsorship. So like we're reverse sponsoring them. They're not sponsoring us, but we will absolutely support. We'll check in. We'll have to check in from them.
Yeah. Also consider supporting children in Africa too, please.
Yeah, you could sponsor children in Africa or sheep in Germany, but you could also do both. You could
once your roster of children in Africa is full, consider a gay German sheep. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So great. Thanks to our listener out there, man. Shout out to you. Shout out to everyone that's commenting on social media, whether they realize they're getting shouted out or not. I appreciate it. It's fun to see. Comments can be a dark, scary place sometimes, but they also are they can be full of so much creativity and joy. And so I appreciate that. If you guys want to give to what we're doing, we have a give link also in the show notes. There's a public link that takes you to our public giving page. And if you're interested in membership, joining our community, which, as you're going to find out today, is a very funny and also very deep and very authentic community as well. Just head over to yourotherbrothers.org/membership, shoot out a quick inquiry to me, and I'll respond to you promptly. And looking forward to... We're going to get at least one new member from this episode. I'm convinced. I'm putting it out there. Someone out there they've been on the fence, but now this episode is gonna take it all the way. So I can't wait. Well, the sponsor for this episode, I have to give another shout out to our amazing community because he came up with the sponsor for this episode. Did you guys ever watch Arrested Development? Did you ever get into that show?
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely, yes. Not you, Matt, or you did?
No, as much as I love Jason Bateman, right? As much as I love him, I didn't.
Yeah. You never did. Okay. Well, I highly recommend it. It's so well written. It's so funny. Anyway, there's a character on that show called Tobias, and he is what's known as quote unquote a never nude, where he cannot be nude, even in the shower. And like, he always wears these like ridiculous cut off jorts, like underneath all of his clothes. And so there are multiple times during the show where like his pants come off or he's in the shower or something and he's not naked because he's a never nude and he's wearing these like cut off jorts. So sponsoring today's show on Nudity are the cut off jorts popularly worn by Tobias Funke of Arrested Development. So thank you.
Thank you, never nude cut off shorts.
Never nude cut off shorts. I wish I were wearing them now. If only I were wearing them now. All right, so I asked 3 questions to our yobbers, and of course they came through. They always do. The very first one I asked our yobbers was, what was your relationship with nudity as a child? Very, very straightforward, very simple. And as I put that question out there, I noticed a lot of themes unfolding as far as relationship with nudity as a child. There was a lot of thoughts about like being in the doctor's office, and then there was a lot of thoughts about being at home, and there was a lot of thoughts about being with friends, being in the pool, being in the locker room. And so we're going to kind of go section by section as we talk about our relationship with nudity as a child. Actually, before I get to that though, Ryan, I thought you had an interesting structure to this conversation. And actually, it reminded me a lot of when we talked about nudity on the teaser podcast where we teased all the topics to come. Like, I thought you did a great job like setting up like all the different roles that nudity plays. Like, it's not just sexual. Like, there's all these ways nudity manifests. And I thought the childhood question was great to start to examine all the different ways that nudity manifests. But could you set that up for us as we start talking about this topic?
Sure. Yeah. As I thought about this, I feel like there are at least 4 different categories of nudity, and considering these different categories helps us to helps us to process all these different experiences. Because I think not all nudity is the same. Just like C.S. Lewis talks about the 4 loves, like it helps to kind of admit some nuance into the conversation and realize that there's different ways, different social contexts for nudity and different ways that we experience it. And Matt and I workshopped this so that they all start with C. Because if anyone needs to hear this message in this episode, it's Southern Baptists.
Yes, praise God. Give us the alliterative sermon here.
You can ask Matt about the theological importance of alliteration. But anyway, so I feel like there's clinical nudity, there's communal nudity, there's companionable nudity, and there's copulatory nudity. So clinical nudity being like very impersonal. It's like you're visiting the doctor. There are strict like boundaries around that for safety and confidentiality. It's asymmetrical, like I went to a dermatologist to get checked for moles, and I was naked, but the doctor was not, So that's like one kind. It's a very particular kind. Communal nudity, I think we see this in many cultures, but less so in like U.S. American culture. This is nudity among strangers, but it is still connected in some way to community and belonging. So we see this in like, sauna or bathhouse cultures. And then I think taking it a step more personal from there, but not quite involving sexual like interaction, is what I call companionable nudity, which is personal and personable. And it's sort of an expression of relationship. And I have like more of a framework for what that means and what that looks like, that I hope to share in a little bit here. And then copulatory nudity, it's an awkward word, but it starts with C, but it's basically nudity that's directed towards sexual intercourse and sexual pleasure. So I think, and I think one thing that was helpful for me here was recognizing the difference between like communal nudity and companionable nudity. Like I personally have not gotten a lot of mileage out of like being naked in the locker room with strangers. Like I'm sort of like that doesn't have a lot of emotional bearing to me. Whereas with, I think, Eugene and some of the other yobbers I know, there's something really important to them about that communal nudity. However, like companionable nudity, like when it's an expression of relationship and when it's like with people I know, like that does do something for me spiritually and emotionally. So yeah, and then being able to recognize that that the ties that nudity has in our cultural context to sexual interaction, like that's sort of like the way those things are so intricately tied together in our cultural context is like very specific to a certain time and place in human history. And that's really not how most people have experienced nudity throughout history. So
very well said. Yeah. And I mean, most of our audience is American, but I have no doubt there's people listening on the other side of the world that might listen to our conversation today. And they're like, what is wrong with those Americans? Or what they are living in a whole other world. And we are living in a whole other world. And I would love feedback. Honestly, after this episode releases and you listen to it and you hear some of the stories that we have to share, Ryan, Matt, and I, and then also what our community members shared, if you have something that's vastly different and there's like another story that you have on the other side of the world, or even here in America for that matter, but I'm particularly talking to our international listeners outside of America, like it would be cool to hear another story. And so please email me, tom@yourotherfamily.org. I would love to hear other stories of growing up. As a group of men, we're talking about being nude with other men. So yeah, thanks for setting that up. Love the C's. So great. That's a great way to have something of a framework to sift through as we talk about this. And I'll probably put something of that nature in the show notes too. So if you need to take some notes just of what Ryan just said, check the show notes. There'll be something written down there. So let's just do the doctor's office real quick. I thought that was such a great. So this is the clinical section, right? If I'm getting the right C at the right in the right time, because we had so many people share clinical stories, and I have a clinical story. But let me just rattle off a few of these because I asked the Yobbers, what was your relationship with nudity as a child? So this isn't a childhood story, but someone said at age 21, when getting a physical, I got an erection as the doctor gave me the quote unquote cough, cough. I tried to hide my body as much as possible. So I appreciated that person sharing that story. Someone else said when I was maybe 14, I had to have a fairly intimate check at the doctor, and I was so embarrassed about it. Someone else said doctor's visits held a lot of emotional weight for me, as it was one of the only times when someone would look at and touch me there, and I would get anxious that I was too small or somehow inadequate or behind. Someone else said, I never wanted to get naked for the doctor, but what kid does? This is embarrassing to share. One of my nuts grew quicker than the other, so I had a nice little testicular cancer scare at the age of 13, 14. I had to undergo a series of ultrasounds. Honestly, I think the humiliation was good for me. It kept my teenage self humble. My family works in the medical field, so I think there was a desensitization to nudity in a hospital setting. So many people sharing just super honestly. I appreciate, if I don't say this enough, Yobbers, thank you for just being honest and vulnerable about all of these things.
I'll just say, I think kind of the baseline for clinical experiences of nudity is just like, the doctor doesn't want to, the doctor's trying to have as little contact as possible because, they're just your doctor, man, but in a situation where you have to get like ultrasounds and like exams and like you're really worried about testicular cancer, like that's a whole different level of like accepting someone like into your very personal space. So my heart goes out to this 13-year-old.
Right. Oh my gosh, 13, 14. Yeah. I'm like, can I be naked for the least amount of time possible with this strange old man touching me or looking me over? Like, could it be 5 seconds or less, as opposed to like minutes, if not hours of lying on a table or sitting on a chair or what have you? Like, man. Someone else said, one time I had to take off my clothes to my underwear for a physical checkup at the age of 19. And it happened to be when family members were present. I felt like I would rather die, but I survived. I think it was very sexual to see another person naked or even shirtless, and I was also embarrassed to see myself or show myself shirtless to anyone. Someone else said, the time I broke both arms at age 13 and had to have emergency surgery to set the bones, they'd made me take off my underwear beneath my hospital gown, which I'd cluelessly put on backwards. When I woke up in my room and discovered the hospital gown had been taken off and put back on the right way, I broke into a cold sweat at the idea of the doctors and nurses seeing my naked body stretched out on the operating table. For most of my life, the purity culture fueled suspicion over anything regarding the body or anything sexual constantly fed the shame I felt. My growing awareness of my same-sex attraction often ramped up that shame to a painful degree. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get more into like purity culture's influence on how we viewed ourselves, some of us anyway, how we viewed our nakedness or nakedness in general. And then the last one that was submitted by our Yobbers, someone said, I often told others I wasn't into sports, but the real reason I never considered joining a middle school or high school sports team, despite friends and family pressure, was because I had heard that I would have to have a physical. Exposing my genitalia and my body to anyone created too much anxiety in me, so I avoided committing to sports so that I wouldn't have to undergo that process. And then he also said this, I still haven't been to a doctor to have a physical yet as a 29-year-old. Even when I had a surgery that I went under for as an 18-year-old, I remember waking up after surgery vomiting because of nausea and then falling back unconscious. But immediately after vomiting, I noticed that the nurses were proceeding with changing the sullied gown, exposing my body, which even in my state of barely consciousness, less than a few minutes total, triggered my nervous system. The physical story, I wanted to share my story real quick because I I was taken back to middle school when that happened. Like I did cross country and track growing up. And I always heard stories that you have to get a physical. You have to get a physical to get cleared. And like I know the football players, like the bigger sports, football, basketball, baseball. Like I'm pretty sure they were getting those physicals way more consistently than the runners were. Because for the life of me, I only remember one time where they brought a doctor to the school. And like basically we all got in a line, one boy after another, and we had to go see this doctor. I have no idea who this is. He's not my doctor. And I had to go see this doctor in the locker room and remove my pants, remove my underwear, and have him reach his hand out and do the cough thing. And my story was I was so anxious for that because I would have been like 9th grade, 10th grade, I think, something like that. And the way it was positioned, like when I went up to see him, the urinals were behind him. And so there was actually a boy like using a urinal while I was facing him. And I was like waiting for him to finish peeing and leave the scene so that I can like have some privacy. Like there was no curtains. There was no like separate room. It was just totally exposed in the locker room. And I'm waiting for this guy who was in my class actually. And he was kind of a bully. I was like, I don't want him to see me naked. That is the last thing I want. I don't even want this doctor to see me naked. And so I remember that taking forever. Like he was peeing for so long and I was just like waiting for him to go. And the doctor was like, are we ready? And I was trying to make it obvious that, hello, there's someone peeing behind you. Can I get a second? Can I wait for him to leave? And so then finally he did. And I just remember that being so awkward, hated it so much, just so much shame, so much secrecy, so much awkwardness, the worst, the absolute worst. So I resonate with this Yobber, even though I feel sad that he never played sports because of it, but I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
The other story that comes to mind for me of being a kid, like I have a younger brother and like we were always put together. Like when we went to the doctor's office as kids, like my sister would go off and do her thing with the doctor that she saw, I guess. And then me and my brother would be together. And I just remember that being so awkward of like stripping down to our underwear and being like naked together in the same doctor's office with my dad also in the room, like being like 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old, whatever it was. And like, I distinctly remember this is like still so scarring for me, like of being like told to lie down on the table and like the doctor telling me to pull back my foreskin and like being like forced to do that and still not having like language for what does that mean? I'm 8 years old. I'm 7 years old. How do I do that? What is it? And I was like looking at my dad of trying to like get some, like, what am I supposed to do here? And it was just so awkward, so confusing. And I just felt so much shame in that moment, which I now can laugh about it and have some grace for myself as a 7-8 year old boy. But at the time was just like, so, it's just so awkward. Like, why is this a thing? Why am I doing this? Why am I performing this action in front of this person that I don't know? And I wasn't given the 411 that this is what's happening today. I think that's what was just so hard. It's like, it just like felt out of nowhere.
Yeah, it sounds like there are a lot of situations where the doctor could communicate better. Like, why are we doing this? And
what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Ugh. Growing up, man. Growing up is a journey. God bless the parents out there who are communicating well to their children.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so moving on to people's home lives as kids, their relationship with nudity. I'm not going to read all the comments because there were so many that people like experience bath time with their siblings, showering with their brothers, showering with their dads, like a lot of like normal, like it just was a normalized nudity, it seemed like, with a lot of people in their households. And so that was interesting to me to just see a lot of people who experienced, like, seems like a very normal nude relationship. I wasn't maybe not expecting that. I was expecting more awkward stories maybe from upbringing. I know for myself, like I remember bath time with my siblings. I have a brother and a sister, and like just remember that was normal and it wasn't awkward. I don't know what happened. It was something happened between the bathtub and the doctor's office. Something happened. So it became awkward and weird for me. What about y'all? Like, what was your relationship with nudity? Did you run around naked? I never ran around naked in the house. That was not me. Somebody in my house did, but it wasn't me.
I have vague memories at a very young age of being bathed with my sister, who's a little younger than me, and also showering with my dad and with my mom. And so I think at a very young age, I think um, they tried to introduce a healthy sense of like maybe who's okay at this age to be naked around, who's not, and also like this is what the human body looks like. I couldn't tell you at what age that stopped, but there was an age where that stopped. And also like my relationship to my experience of nudity changed drastically as I got a little older and started to feel like I was fat and became very ashamed of my body. And so that kind of kicked off a whole era of my life where I was, terrified of the locker room because I didn't want to undress in front of everyone. Um, so maybe a good start, but it went off the rails.
Yeah, and I don't remember a lot of nudity. I think I was just in a very modest world. Grew up very, very independent Baptist, and I don't want to blame it all on them. That's probably unfair, but a lot of it, like for example, I remember when I was a teenager, like 15 or 16 years old, and I was working as a camp counselor, and I was just wearing my swim shorts like a normal person would down in a creek playing a relay game, with kids. It wasn't co-ed. I was just helping with the game. I remember another counselor coming up, a female counselor coming up to tell me something or whatever. And I was like, and my reaction was so bizarre. I was like, "Oh, hold on, wait, don't look. Let me grab my shirt." What? And I look back at that now. I think that's so crazy. I'm just staying there in my swim shorts. But we had this world where we would go to theme parks and wear clothes like a bunch of fundamentalist Latter-day Saints, going down the water slides in cottagecore. So I think that this environment, this ultra modesty, over and pure, like radical purity culture thing, just I hate what it did to me. They weren't bad people, you know what I'm saying? I don't condemn all. They were beautiful people doing the best that they could, but I hate what it did to me. And I think there are some problems, I think, when we over sexualize nudity, which is what we're getting at here. We can talk about that later.
Yeah, there were a lot of people that commented on pools and locker rooms, people swimming like with their shirts. I learned a new term. A couple people mentioned the term rash guard. Have you guys heard that term before? I had never heard that term.
Yeah,
like a rash guard.
All the not all the kids. I don't know. It's a lot more common these days to have like a bathing shirt. And I think part of that is like sun protection. Like it's very appealing for the parents to just like put your kid in a rash guard instead of like having to reapply sunscreen every 57 seconds or however often
Right.
you're supposed to do it.
Where were the rash guards when I was a kid? I would have loved a rash guard. Oh my gosh. That would
Yeah,
have
I
just
literally like
helped
wore
me
a
out.
t-shirt in the pool. I was the kid who wore a t-shirt in the pool for, 10 years of my life.
I did that once or twice. I mean, more often than not, I went shirtless, but I definitely didn't like it. Like I felt very awkward doing it, or I always tried to make sure when I was in the pool that I was always like submerged. So like don't just like I'm not lounging on a chair by the side of the pool without a shirt on. Like I'm always like under the water so that you can't really see my body basically. So I remember that happening quite a bit throughout my upbringing. We had a couple people, I wanted to bring some attention to curiosity as a kid, because we had a couple people talk about just like people growing up and just being curious what other naked bodies looked like. And like somebody said, I was fascinated by what other boys my age would look like. I remember trying to pants one of my friends, who then proceeded to say, if you want to see it, just ask. And then took off his pants and underwear. Did you guys ever experience anything like that? Did you ever experience like wanting to see, like throwing in some sexuality into this from whatever your sexuality looked like at a young age, but like, was there a curiosity there to see?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, curiosity to see, but also a longing for connection, like I was saying earlier. Like there was like a little bit of a probably sexual impulse there, but but it's also very tied up with like, sexuality is tied up with intimacy and connection. And I think I wanted to feel like I had the kind of relationships where people could be vulnerable where we could be vulnerable with each other and have that level of intimacy with each other.
Yeah, and that I hope we come back to that, because that's that companionable nudity that
Mm-hmm.
that Ryan was talking about, like that your physical intimacy, if you want to say, being proportional to your relational intimacy. And then that's the most beautiful thing. Like that wasn't the longing I was going to talk about. Like that's more beautiful. But for me, it was like, I remember one of my earliest realizations, or what should have been, that something was different about my sexuality. That was me having one of my first sleepovers at my friend Gabriel's house when we were in 7th grade. And I remember it was time to go to bed, and he crawled into his bed, and I think I was getting ready, and then something hit me in the head, and I turned, and it was his boxer shorts. And I was like, I was like, what are these? And he went, and he was just being playful. And I had difficulty. If for him it was a joke, he went to sleep. I lay there for heaven knows how long.
He sent you into an existential crisis. Right? For him, it was no big deal.
He's sleeping, snoring, and I'm just thinking, he's naked. He's naked. And so that should have been, but I only needed about 15 more years to fully grasp what that meant,
You were right there. You were right there, Matt. I did want to share one beautiful story that someone shared about what companionable, was that the right C? Companionable nudity.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what this category is. So someone says this: I'm grateful for my own nudity as a child, being accepted and celebrated in a way that did not make me shameful about being naked. I remember my senior year of high school, I was at a friend's house in his parents' jacuzzi. There were 5 of us. We had bathing suits on, but when we got out, we took them off and streaked around his parents' house. They lived in a mansion, a long run around the property. In the middle of the night, that's probably the most freeing and healthy male nudity experience I had. I was 17, and I know they all wondered if I was gay. They were all very, he said very in capital letters, very straight / borderline homophobic. So to be accepted in that situation carried more weight than I realized at the time. And I just know a story like that will probably create a lot of longing for a lot of people. There is something in me that even though I don't necessarily want to be naked, I want to want it, I think. I think there's something in me that wants to want something like that, because I never had anything close to that kind of an experience.
Did you hear what he said? To be accepted by these men. I think there's something in a lot of guys, let's say most straight guys. What do they want from women? They want they want to be attractive to women and admired and accepted by men. I think all men, straight men, want to be found attractive by women and admirable by men. There's something that we long for to get from other men: affirmation and approval. And we all want it, regardless of your sexuality or your age. We need something from one another. And sometimes the embodiment of that can be that shared nudity. And it can be either companionable with people close to you or communal. There's something about this passage into adulthood where so many men, at least in our culture, go through that desire to see one another, for their relationship to be embodied in some way. Like I remember one time when I was a junior in college, running around the dorm with about 5 guys completely naked about twice, and then going back into, because I was at a college that would definitely disapprove of this activity. And I went back and got into my bed, and here I go again, lying awake for an hour and a half, thinking about how I'm going to explain to my parents that I'm being kicked out of school because I felt it necessary to run around the dorm naked.
Was this Bob Jones University?
Yeah, it was.
Are you at Bob Jones?
No, but comparable, very comparable. And so they would not have. And I'm so thankful I didn't get caught, didn't get kicked out. But you know what did happen though? There was a communal nature. I'm really justifying this like it was a good decision, right? It was probably a dumb decision, but here's what we wanted. We just wanted to make a memory together and to for our relationship to be embodied, to be accepted. We want that from one another, whether we understood it or not.
Mm-hmm.
You said accepted, affirmation, admiration. You started rattling off some A's, so you're getting on to something else now, Matt.
Alliteration. It's so great. What a gift.
It's how you can tell the spirit's moving.
Right. Holy Spirit speaks in the same letters. It's the only way. It's the only way it can make sense of this world. The second question I asked basically was like, how has your relationship with nudity as a child impacted your desire or lack thereof for experiencing nudity with other men today, either sexually or non-sexually for that matter? Someone was kind of speaking to what you were saying, Matt. Someone said, I would say I have a strong desire to be seen and wanted. This is both emotionally and physically. In relationships I feel more confident in, I'm not afraid to change or be seen naked by other guys. I'm not sure really to what extent this is sexual, and it depends a little bit depending on the situation. I still fear rejection and have some anxiety about my body, but there's also part of me that fears when my body will no longer look like it does now, then it will be harder to be seen and appreciated and wanted. Yeah, that's like a whole other conversation too, about how our bodies are always changing and aging, and as we're in better shape or less better shape than other seasons of our lives, like our bodies are not always the same. And so that's another element here.
Mm-hmm. And maybe these like communal nudity spaces that are kind of like disappearing in the US have historically been a place where we encounter aging bodies, and it normalizes like the aging process in a way that we kind of struggle to accept aging, I think, more these days because we just don't see aging bodies very much.
Yeah, I think where I want to land the plane for this conversation is going back to the Korean spa conversation. We are so thrilled to have a special guest in our community. He almost goes back to the start of Your Other Brothers. I think back to 2016 maybe is when we first learned of his existence, or he first learned of ours and vice versa. So welcome to the show, everybody. Our other brother and our official nudity correspondent, Eugene. What's up, Eugene?
Hey guys, hey Tom, glad to be here.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking the time out of your schedule to be not naked with us today. Or naked. I teased earlier on the episode that listeners don't know. Are we naked right now? Are we clothed? Use your imagination. I don't know. Yeah, Eugene, you've written about nudity and it's come up a lot, I think, in your blogs, more so than other people's blogs, I would say. So why don't you tell us why is nudity an important subject to you? Why have you written about it as much as you have?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of like a, sort of an anomaly, I guess, in this IB world a little bit where, but then again, I'm sort of similar to you, Tom, and yet not, where it's like, for some reason, when it comes to my sexuality and attractions, like most of my sexuality has kind of centered around nudity a lot of the time. And like you, Tom, we're kind of like on that asexual spectrum where we've never fixated so much on gay sex or anything, or haven't been attracted to gay sex or interested in it. And so for me, at least I know this is where you and I differ a little bit. For me, it's mostly centered around nudity, basically a lot of the time. And, a lot of the confusing, weird feelings that come up with that, basically. And weirdly enough, I've found that it's not uncommon with so many side B same-sex attracted guys that I've met. Like, it is oddly enough kind of a reoccurring theme with so many guys I've met. So that's just been a subject I found to be really fascinating, and I felt like I had to write about it. And so yeah, so that's what I did.
I'm glad you brought up you and me, because there are so many times, Eugene, when I read your blogs or when I just listen to you talk on Discord, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he is like speaking my language. Like, I felt like we grew up introverted, emotional, sensitive little fours in our little Christian worlds, and so similar, like you described on the ACE spectrum. You're mostly correct. I don't want to completely counter what you just said. I will say, like, having language we just joked earlier in the episode about my ego sexuality, which is like, I actually really like nudity. I just don't want to participate. I just want to watch it. I want to like look at it, but I don't want to be naked myself. So that's a differentiating factor where you want to be naked with the naked men, and I just want to look at the naked men. I just want to be a peeping Tom. That's essentially the differentiation there.
Yeah, so you're kind of more on the voyeur end, I guess.
Yes, for sure. So No, you've been very vulnerable with your blogs that you've written. You know, they've definitely received a lot of hits. I'm sure sometimes maybe clickbaity, but a lot of times it's just you being honest about. And you always do such great artwork too. I always give a shout out to your artwork because you do all the artwork for your blogs, and so those are all images that you've drawn from your imagination as you put these stories together. So yeah, I just always appreciate your honesty about nudity and other stories that you tell.
Yeah, thank you. It's often a lot of fun to do. It's fun to brainstorm up some of those images. And I know for like the nudity blogs, I kind of wanted to draw that like intimidating wall of lockers. And, you know, at the very end of that big, long, intimidating hallway is like the dreaded showers, you know, which so many of us dread sometimes or dreaded growing up. So sometimes it's just those raw feelings come through with that. And it can be a lot of fun to do.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Eugene. I've seen you describe nudity in like a locker room or a spa situation as healing. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, because growing up, for whatever reason, I truly don't know why. I used to be really, actually, very terrified of nudity and being seen naked in the locker room. And to this day, I don't really know why. I don't know if it was some kind of irrational feeling or something that kids have or what, because I don't remember like being specifically told nudity was shameful or that I wasn't made fun of or thankfully not abused or anything like that. And for some reason, I just growing up, I was like really terrified of it. And I would always, if I was ever in a locker room situation, like with changing in and out of swimsuits for swimming with other boys, like in a summer day camp or whatever, I would always change in the toilet stall. Like every time, I would always change in the toilet stalls. And so I would always do that. And then I don't know, it's kind of weird just around puberty that kind of like turned into more of a fascination, I guess, if you will. And it's very complicated. It's hard to like describe it all in one thing. Like on one hand, like that mystery of nudity and growing up and wondering why all the other boys were totally okay with it and I wasn't, or that kind of thing. It's just like a weird cocktail of feelings. Like on one hand, a lot of it became kind of like a sexualized ideal for me. But on the other hand, it was also something that was like non-sexual that I wanted to partake in. And just from the sake of like being one of the guys. And growing up and going into my 20s, I wanted to experience that like in a non-sexual way. And you know, for me, that can be really healing because at like Korean spas, like I'm genuinely surprised at like how not aroused I am when I'm there and that kind of thing. And I'm not struggling to suppress an erection or anything like that. And it's one of those situations where I genuinely feel like I'm one of the guys. I'm one with my own gender. Sometimes kind of gives you the feeling that, you know, you're on the sports team and you're showering together after a game, that kind of thing. So it gives you kind of that masculine feeling. And I like that. And it's really nice. And it's chill. You know, you can just chat with your friends and chill. And it's really nice.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning Korean spa because I wanted to kind of land there. We're going to spend some time in the episode talking about Korean spas, which you've written about as well. We'll post some links. I'll get a nice little smorgasbord of your blogs that you've written and put that in the episode notes. But for those that don't know the Korean spa, what is it? Because I thought this would be a fun way to close the episode. Is that all of you have been to a Korean spa? I think Eugene and Ryan like multiple times, right? Like multiple times. And then Matt just once for you, Matt, right? Which is one more than me. But you're an expert compared to me. So I have never set foot in one. I've never been tempted to go to one. I've never thought about going one until recently. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But I just thought you would explain for the listeners out there, if they have no idea what the heck is a Korean spa, what are these four white guys talking about? Korean spa in America? Give us like 30 seconds. What is it?
It's basically something that is immigrated, a cultural tradition brought along by Korean immigrants to America. And it's a bathhouse. And it's all part of Korean custom and tradition. And it's basically split into two parts. There's the dry saunas, and then there's the wet area. And the wet area is gender segregated, one for women, one for men. And nudity is mandatory. You absolutely must be naked. This is part of Korean custom and Korean culture.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? And The wet area is where nudity is, but the dry area not so much. But anyway, yeah, like the wet area that contains it varies from place to place, but they often have hot tubs, regular warm pools, a cold pool, steam room, and sauna, the whole deal, and like a whole area where they can give you massages or body scrubs and things like that. And like I said, nudity is mandatory. They will literally kick you out if you try to wear a towel around your waist or if you try to wear a swimsuit in there. So there's that. And then the second half, they give you little uniforms to wear that are just like little shirts and shorts that they give you. And you go into the co-ed area, and that's where all the co-ed saunas are. And that's where men and women can intermingle, and they'll often have a restaurant. They'll have like various saunas, like made out of different materials, some made out of clay, some made out of charcoal, some made out of salt, gold, jade, you name it. All sorts of different things that supposedly have certain healing qualities to them.
Is that like
so?
I feel like you just rattled off all the minerals, all the elements that are listed like in the book of Revelation, like all the gates of heaven and the like they're all made of gates of pearl and gold and jade and all the I don't know all those things.
Chrysoprase and jasper.
Jasper, yeah. Well, I wanted to bring this up because I am genuinely curious. I've had so many friends, I mean, present company excluded, others too, go to these places and seem to get a lot out of it. And not have it be this like sexual weird type of experience, which that was initially what I thought it was when I first heard about it, because I had never heard about it until some of my friends started going to it. And I've always been like, not like I shared earlier, not really interested in being naked myself. Like I'm all for being able to look at, admire naked bodies and naked men and like enjoy the beauty around me. But to participate in it has always been like something that I've never been interested in. And I brought this up in therapy once because I told my therapist that I was doing this podcast, and we talked about nudity in therapy recently. And my therapist was like, so you're freaked out. I was talking about how anxious I am, the thought about going to a Korean spa with friends. Like, I don't want my friends to see me naked. Like that's horrifying. That's terrifying. And so then my therapist asked me a question I had never thought about. They were like, what if you went to a Korean spa by yourself? Could you do that? And I thought about it for a second and I was like, it would be more doable. It's still not something I'm racing out my door to do, but that is something that I would at least consider doing without people that I know, like getting a look at me, like to be able to just go where nobody knows who I am and they don't know who I am. It's like this total blank slate and just watch, notice what comes up, notice what I feel, notice what I think. And so this is me just like putting it out there to you three. You're the first three people to know, like, this is something I am like going to seriously look at doing between now and our next YOBcast recording. I'm doing this for the ratings. I'm doing this for the getting the people to come back. But I wanted to ask some questions to gauge what this experience would be like. Like what how can I prepare myself, basically? So are you ready? Are you ready, Nudity K-Spa correspondent, to respond?
Absolutely.
Should I like shave? Should I trim? Should I like tend to my body hair situation before I go to this place?
It's not.
Matt's nodding his head. Yes.
It's not required. It's not required by the spa for you to do that. That is like totally up to your own personal grooming standards and what you think looks best for you. Or I have been to spas and I have seen men who look like Italian cab drivers, and then I've seen men who shave pretty much everything. So you will see the diversity there.
Okay. I was going to ask, what is the breakdown of Korean people or Asian people and non-Korean people, non-Asian people? Like on a typical day, or let's say I pick the busiest day of the week to go, what would I expect to find? Also like demographics, older people, younger people, children. Are there children allowed in this space? Like, give me a breakdown on the demographics.
Yeah, racial demographics. There's a fair amount of Koreans that go there, but there's been a surprising amount of non-Koreans going there too. A lot of white guys, surprisingly. Sometimes there'll be white guys, but they'll be like, I hear them talk and they'll be talking in like an Eastern European language. And that's kind of interesting because that culture also has kind of a spa culture similar to Korea and Eastern countries. So there's that. And then age is pretty much all over the place. Surprising amount of younger men that go. You get middle-aged, older, and yes, I have seen dads bring their kids in to the spas. So, it's pretty much literally all over the place, which is interesting. And again, like in America, that's considered like shocking and scandalous and, maybe even abusive. But again, in Korean culture, that's just what they do. That's common. That's normal. That's not weird for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in Asian cultures, and I know more about Japanese culture than Korean culture, but like going to the onsen, the hot spring in Japan, or I think the K spa in Korea it's a family outing. Like you all go together as a family. I to answer your question, to give my perspective on your demographics question, Tom. The K spa in Atlanta that I've been to, I was amazed like last time I went that like the line was to the door to like check in, and looking at the line, it was honestly kind of just a slice of Atlanta, maybe a little biased toward Asians, but like but it just seemed like it was catching like just a sampling of whoever lives in that area. It wasn't just like a bunch of perverted gays in the line, or at least not that I could tell.
Right. What day of the week would you recommend I go to the K spa? If I had the perfect schedule, what should be my first day to go?
If you're a first timer, you probably want to go on a weekday, because that'd be less people there, and that'd probably be a lot less intimidating for you. So, if you go on a weekend, weekends are probably the most busy. You'll probably have the most people there. But on weekdays, they generally tend to be pretty slow.
But would that be better if it's like me, just another naked man in the crowd, versus like me and only 4 other people in the room, or whatever the... Yeah, so maybe it just depends on what I'm looking for as far as many people as possible, or the ghost town.
Yeah, Eugene, would you say it gets more cruisy when there are fewer people there? Like...
Possibly, yeah. I think generally in the evenings, though, that's when the cruisers come out of the shadows, basically to do their devious deeds. I think primarily that tends to be the case. But yeah, that's true. That could be a case with like a weekday too, with less people.
So tell me, without getting too explicit, what's up with these cruisers? What do they do? What are they there to do?
Well, unfortunately, they're there to sometimes be rather exhibitionistic, and sometimes try to engage in certain homoerotic acts with other men in that environment, which is against the rules, by the way, very strictly against the rules in most spas. They have it, most spas have a rule that if you try to do anything sexual in a naked area, they will kick you out and no refund, and they will ban you permanently. So,
okay.
Yeah,
I figured.
People try to get away with what they can get away with. I think it depends on the spa, like how good they are at enforcing their rules. But when you check in, you leave your driver's license at the front desk, and so they have a pretty good mechanism for the security of making sure that if you get banned, you actually stay banned.
Right. That makes sense. Well, I guess that was my last question, was like, would it be awkward? Like, are there people there, like I'm theoretically doing, like that are by themselves? Is everybody usually there with somebody else or a group of people, or are there single people that are just there? Could you like listen? Are you allowed to have like little earbuds in your ears, or can you bring a book or anything? Or what's like, what does it look like for a person by themselves being there?
I'd say the majority of people are there by themselves. Just chilling and
really?
minding their own business. Yeah, at least from my experience.
I assumed it was mostly with people. Oh, okay.
Yeah, mostly. But I have seen groups of guys and a couple, or maybe a guy with a friend or two or that kind of thing. I have seen groups every now and then, but for the most part, yeah, I'd say it's mostly guys by themselves. It would not be advisable to bring in earbuds, at least to the wet area, or a book, because they're going to get wet and they're all going to break. But if you want to bring a book and your earbuds into the dry sauna area, definitely do that. That's very relaxing. I've done that before.
Okay, that's good to know.
I think a number of the guys that are there in the wet area alone came to the spa with a girlfriend or a female partner.
Hmm.
And so they will do like the dry sauna area together as like a date, and then maybe spend some time in the steam room or whatever, hot
Yeah,
tubs solo.
Gotcha.
I've seen
That makes
those.
sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you've got my curiosity peaked. This used to be something that I was a firm no on, and I'm at least cracking the door open. So we'll see. See what happens. I'm always chasing a good story. So this is like the storyteller in me. I'm trying to find a good story, even though I have raging insecurity and anxiety and uncertainty and what have you. But thank you for just all three of you just for sharing some of your experience. I appreciate it.
Well, one thing I wanted to say, Tom, in some ways, you're kind of braver than me because I personally
Oh,
couldn't go to a spa by myself for the first time. It's such a different environment. It's like going to a different country in a lot of ways. And so, like, I personally often would have been just, the first time I went was with a Yobber friend. And he showed me the ropes because he'd been before and that kind of thing. And so he showed me everything, and that made it a lot easier for me. But going alone for me personally would kind of be way more scary than going with a trusted friend, but that's just me.
sure. No, I know that this is another way that you and I maybe are very different, very similar, but also very, very different. Eugene, thanks for being here. I wanted to also shout out, we're going to put a bunch of links, like I said, about your blogs, but you're actually writing a brand new one. It's coming out really soon after this podcast releases. Can you tease the listeners/readers what are you writing about that pertains to nudity?
Yeah, well, it's the first in a series that I'm writing. It's just one of those things where it got out of hand, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm gonna have to break this up into a series. It's too much to write. It's primarily, why is it that gay men are so heavily drawn towards nudism and nudity in like supposedly non-sexual environments or that kind of thing? It's something I've noticed for a very long time. It just seems like nudism just seems to really, really attract gay men. And of course, some people say, oh, well, that's hot for them because they'll be around naked guys and that kind of thing. But the thing is, like in some respects, like nudism is supposed to be non-sexual for starters. And also it's co-ed, at least in that full-fledged sphere. But I just noticed there's this weird, almost sort of psychological pull that a lot of gay and same-sex attracted men seem to have. They're drawn towards like non-sexual nudity and that kind of thing. And it's something I've noticed across the board, or drawn to nudity, in so all sorts of different ways, that I find to be just really fascinating. So it's just basically a collection of all my thoughts on that subject. So
Very nice. Well, I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for us to read it and see where your findings take you. Thank you for being such a good explorer, correspondent, storyteller. It's great to have your input. Thanks for coming on, Eugene.
yeah, thank you for having me on. The moment you announced this subject, I was just like, oh gosh, I have so much input. So
we couldn't not have you on. I also want to say, if you want to email Eugene, anyone out there, if you love Eugene's blogs or you want to get in touch, Eugene@yourotherfamily.org, shoot him an email and get in touch.
All right. Yeah.
All right, brother. Well, we're going to get back to being naked now. See ya.
All right.
Bye, Eugene.
You guys.
I have a guy out there actually that I got to connect with recently, and he was like, Tom, whenever I talk to people about Yob, I always share like these two things. And one of the things he shared was one of Eugene's blogs about Korean spas, because for whatever reason, the Korean spa like story has been part of our community for a long time, and Eugene's a big part of that. But Eugene's not the only one. Obviously, you guys have been to Korean spas, and there's a good number of other guys in our community who have been and who have gotten a lot out of it. I posed it to our community because it's the first time I've ever asked our community directly, like, have you been to one? What, and then if you have, what specific growth or fulfillment have you received from going to the Korean spa or the Japanese onsen or any of these other similar environments where you're around other nude men in a safe, culturally appropriate context? Like, what has that been like, or what's been challenging or detrimental about those environments as an adult? And so I had to chuckle when a couple of our Yobbers said, it was so funny because so much of the answers to these prompts were like 7, 8, 9, 10 sentences long. And then one of our Yobbers just said, the very notion, and capitalized notion and period. And that's it. The very notion. And that's all he had to say to this prompt. And then someone else chimed in and basically agreed with him and said, I concur with them. I could never. There was a few people that just had no interest. Someone else said, because I don't find intrinsic interest in shared male nudity, I have not actively sought out spaces like Korean spas. I'd be curious what my experience would be like. I know that if I were to go to one, I would want to go with friends. Someone else, though, direct contrast to that, which I resonate. Someone said, I don't know if I can do Korean spas, especially with friends I know. Having males and females separated is good, but becoming fully nude with people I know who I will see again is not something I can be eased into yet. And so I found that interesting. It's like a lot of people want friends to go with, and I'm like with this person, I'm like, no, I do not. That's the opposite of what I want. I want to like scope it out for myself and see what it's all about first.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I've gone alone and it's not like it was a bad experience. Yeah,
okay.
It's not like it was a bad experience, but I decided this just isn't worth the $38 or however much it costs. Like
right.
I would pay $100 to go with friends, but the 4 hours of my day and the $35 to get in is just not worth it to me to go alone.
Well, let me just directly ask. We don't have the time with Eugene because Eugene is gone. But like, was there any anxiety, or was that something you were just completely excited about to experience, like seeing your friends naked, and then vice versa, them seeing you naked?
Yeah, a little anxiety, a little like it's different. It's outside of my comfort zone. I think I'm excited, less like to see my friends naked. I'm more excited for like the like feeling like we're doing this together, kind of like the connection and the closeness to it. I think that there is like, I think a lot of us experience an anxiety about like being naked like this, and I'm attracted to men, and like is my body going to betray me? Am I going to get aroused? That's a very common anxiety, and my experience is that you're just a little too anxious the whole time in order to
right.
You're just a little
sense.
too anxious the whole time to get aroused. So I think that's I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Yeah. Well, let me read this one testimonial. This person we had several people say, I love Korean spas. And someone else said, I have yet to visit a Korean spa, but I'm ready, solo or with a friend or 20 naked friends. 20 is a bit much for me. I'll have to start with 1 or 2 if I get to that point. But someone said this, I love K-spas. We have several where I live, and I find them so relaxing. I was a little skeptical the first time I went, but I had a couple of friends with me, straight guys, oddly enough, which put me at ease. The experience was great. It was a place where I could let my guard down and appreciate the human body in a non-sexual environment. And that's when it hit me. Nudity for me only became sexual if the context in which I viewed it was sexual. The K-spa was firmly outside of that sexual context. I've been back dozens of times since that first one, sometimes with friends, sometimes alone. The most recent time I went was with a few of the guys in my chapter from a popular ministry. Some of them were first timers, and I think I got them hooked. So much of the queer community, especially gay men, revolves around horniness and sex, that the idea of 5 gay men hanging out naked together without doing the deeds seems like an impossibility. But it was a fantastic experience for all of us. So I don't know. It's hard to deny that it's been such a positive thing for so many people. So I'm just trying to put on my Enneagram 5-wing investigator cap on and just look at the data and look at the results and see like, okay, there's clearly something here for a lot of people, and I've never experienced that. So is there something worth exploring here?
Mm-hmm. For me, I was naturally drawn to it for the communal aspect, the communal nudity, and that acceptance and affirmation from other men. But Ryan actually has helped me through the years to appreciate the companionable, the more intimate relationships in my life, being comfortable being naked with them. That's not something I really had a lot. I'm very, very comfortable being nude with strangers, but it was weird. I had to ask myself, am I less comfortable being nude with people who know me better? And I think it comes into this, me having to ask myself, am I willing to be authentic in every way with these people, to trust that they love me, even when they know my character flaws, and even when they see my body flaws? It's an embodiment of what it means to open yourself up vulnerably to other people. And really, I have to thank Ryan for that. He's really taught me. I went to a cabin this winter, and I arrived there, and Ryan was there with some of our friends, and they were all naked in the hot tub, and they wouldn't let me get in unless and actually that's not true, but basically I was bullied into, being, getting naked with them. And no, I didn't mind one bit. I trust these guys. I know that they love me. And so I just threw those clothes right off and hopped in, and we had a wonderful conversation for like an hour, just sitting there together in this physical vulnerability that created this relational, that enhanced and took our relational vulnerability to this other level. Mm-hmm. And it's been a beautiful thing that's been new to me. And so now I can say, go into like a Korean spa, I get why Ryan says now, yeah, I want to go and share it with somebody who, because it has a deeper meaning. And I think that's really something I've learned only in the past few years.
Yeah. And if I can get on my soapbox for a minute, like one of the most pervasive and subtly harmful fallacies of the modern Western worldview is that our mind and body are separable, and that we are a mind and have a body. However, the biblical worldview is that we are an embodied mind or soul, and an ensouled or animated body. So I am a mind and I am a body. Like, our bodies are important, our bodies matter to our faith and to our relationships and to our communities. And our faith is embodied is kind of what I'm trying to say. For example, for the Lord's Supper, we take the elements and we physically eat them. For baptism, we physically immerse people, or at least get them wet for baptisms. Our bodies are involved in these things. Married couples consummate the sacrament of marriage through intercourse, and none of these is quite real without being embodied. And so I've gotten a lot of, I just feel like it's this gem of wisdom, actually, that nudity actually embodies something that's spiritually important. And so, like, what could that nudity like embody, in our faith even? One thing could be like the conquest of shame, like in and through Christ. In the Bible, nudity is a symbol of shame. It comes from the fall as like a mitigation for the fall, as like covering human shame. And the arc of redemption through the Bible is a conquering of that shame and a conquering of the effects of the fall. And God doesn't reverse the fall, but I think that sort of like being free of that shame is a mark of God's work in the world and God's work in us. That nudity can embody intimacy and vulnerability, which we're called to in community. It can embody the goodness of our bodies, the beauty of our bodies, being made in God's image. And all that to say, companionable nudity with friends is important to me because it embodies that intimacy and vulnerability and acceptance, like you're saying, that making those things real in a way that they would just be hypothetical otherwise. Like, if I can't be, like, maybe I can hypothetically be naked with somebody if all my clothes just disintegrated randomly, maybe like we could be fine, right? But unless that's like unless we actually go there, and unless we actually do that, unless we actually embody that, like, it's just hypothetical. It's just a hypothetical vulnerability. It's just a hypothetical acceptance. And in the same way, like, like baptism, if you don't actually get immersed, it's just a hypothetical baptism. If you don't actually like consume the elements of communion of the Lord's Supper, like, you're not doing it, right? It's a hypothetical Lord's Supper. So anyway, that's my soapbox. That's my rant. And basically I'm saying that, that relationship without embodiment, no, it doesn't have to be nudity. I don't think it's the right time and place. There's a time and a place for it. There's certain relationships that I wish that could be a part of, but it's just not going to, and that has to be okay. But without some sort of embodiment, some sort of like enacting this relationship with our bodies, between our bodies, in our bodies, relationship without embodiment is dead, in the same way that faith without works is dead. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I love that.
Aw, that was so good.
Yeah, I love that. And like Ryan said, it doesn't have to be. It sounds like when I'm talking, it sounds like I'm saying, well, if you're not physically naked with someone, then do you even have a relationship? And that's not what I'm saying. And that's what Ryan said. Just some way that being in a hot tub naked with somebody is not the only way, but some sort of embodied expression of that. Yeah, intimacy. That's well said.
Can I be honest? Whenever I hear stories of personal growth at the intersection of nudity and body image, or growth relationally within our community or even beyond this community with straight men, often centered around safe and shared experiences of non-sexual nudity, I just feel so far behind. Not necessarily left out. I'm certain I could be included if I wanted to be, but that's just it. Do I want to be? I've always felt left behind in this particular sphere of masculine culture, whether by changing openly beside strangers in a locker room or witnessing counselors at camp, playfully exposing themselves with their fellow counselors with no kids around, unable to take a single step anywhere remotely in their confident masculine direction. I really resonate with this comment from one of our yobbers. He said this question on nudity has been a source of shame for me in the past. Another point by which I can place myself as quote unquote other in spaces like Yob, because I don't have a strong desire for shared male nudity, sexual or non-sexual. And I appreciate his honesty. It hits home. There are reasons many that each of us in this community feels like we don't belong here, or we don't belong as much as the men we see around us, or perhaps anywhere in this world of men, or the church at large. And yet I have to believe there is space in this community for men who don't desire to be naked with other men, not even a little, as well as men who do, a lot. I've started to appreciate people's stories of growth, stories vastly different from mine. I want to believe them and take them at their word, even if their story may not ever quite match up with my own. I'm reminded of the time I stayed with a nudist in Montreal. I was driving around the continent as part of a 9-month road trip to discover home, and I found this guy on the internet, or rather he found me. He heard about my trip and sent me a message inviting me to come stay with him while passing through his city, and also to participate in his nudist lifestyle for a day. I tell the full story in my second book, Running 2. I wanted to read an excerpt here because part of this conversation I had with him about why he chooses to live this way, why he hosts people in his home nude, even attending naked retreats around the world with other nude people. I learned a lot. He sits across from me and I ask him how he first delved into nudism. I traveled with some friends to Miami, he tells me. A couple of them wanted to check out a nude beach, so we went. It was my first time, and I left that beach feeling more comfortable with people than ever before. I started attending nudist events around the world, and I've been a nudist host for a few years now. With every passing word from his mouth, he never stops smiling. I start to get this whole nudism thing. It's not a sexual thing and not just some shtick to attract visitors. It's an intentional lifestyle, a way of connecting more meaningfully with others. There are fewer barriers this way, he continues. You see someone for who they are and they see you from the inside out, no hiding. You connect with others faster than you would otherwise. I nod. It makes sense. We watched TV for an hour that night, he naked in one chair, myself naked in another. I head downstairs naked and go to sleep naked. Next morning, I eat breakfast naked, and he's naked. And then at last, I return to the guest room and put on some clothes. Strangest sensation. I pack my bag of fig leaves and head upstairs to tell him goodbye. He's still naked, but I arch over his lower torso for a brief hug. Come back anytime, he says, still smiling. even though it was completely awkward for me to be naked like that with a stranger for 24 hours. I could appreciate intellectually what he was describing, this concept of being seen from the inside out. And though I still struggle at this notion of being naked with a stranger or a friend, I've seen some progress. While I don't get fully naked in my gym's locker room, I've become significantly more comfortable both seeing nudity around me and also just changing like one of the guys, almost fully exposed. Or running shirtless in a public park when just a few years ago that was really daunting, feeling super insecure about my wiry frame. Or then there's the most recent development, sitting in my gym sauna, a sweaty, dark, sacred sort of room where me and other men sit there in silence, shirtless, often in our underwear or maybe just a towel. This really strangely intimate room of shared masculinity. Even though nobody says a word, I feel connected to my body as it sweats profusely and strangely, maybe weirdly connected in a sense to all of these other masculine bodies sitting so close together. I got the sense from my nudist host of yesteryear that clothes almost felt like masks, things that needed to be taken off in order to truly see somebody else. Something like a fig leaf, to invoke some biblical language. A couple of our Yobbers actually referenced Eden in their own feedback to this episode, and I really appreciate their reminder for this conversation about how our bodies were originally created by a God whose image we bear. One Yobber said, regardless of the nude environment, what matters is the mindset. How are we entering into the environment, whether naked or clothed? God created us naked. All was good. The fall perverted this. Our bodies are separate and beautiful. Let us celebrate what God has given us. And then one other Yobber said this: my journey into adulthood married nudity with sexual encounters. The end of 2024 and into 2025 was the dawn of a redeemed era of being naked with friends in non-sexual ways. This is a tightrope for me because of my previous experiences and my continued attraction, ceaseless burning passion is more accurate, to the male physique. I found a new freedom in being in a sauna with a dear friend, naked. Being bare and unashamed in the presence of other males is a redeeming and beautiful thing. I liken it to how we might have experienced one another prior to the fall, prior to knowing what it means to be naked and ashamed. I refuse to be ashamed. I refuse to walk in shame because I am redeemed. I remember going to a group dinner after sitting in the sauna with a naked friend and thinking, I know him now in a way that no one else at this table knows him. That's intimacy. That's beautiful. Being known by and knowing others is holy. And so, my brothers, you who feel at ease in your masculine bodies, particularly among other masculine bodies, and also you who don't always or at all feel this way. Whatever your relationship with nudity, the emotions and thoughts this mere notion or single word evokes, whatever external insecurities or internal scars you bear, however badly you wish or resist to be seen, may you rest in this assurance of a God who walks through the garden in the cool of the day and sees you, calls out to you, calls you very good, wonderfully made, a beloved son in whom he is well pleased. May you this day affirm the truth of your body, your own naked, unmasked body. And may you more and more perceive this same God-image beauty in the men around you, too. From the mirror glass to the locker room, the spas and the pools to the showers at home. Beyond your skin and the muscles down to the bones and the sinews of your very soul. May we learn to be seen and known by others, other men with human bodies, bearers of the same light we hold, same light we pursue. the same sacred light we share. We'll have to bring Eugene back for his other bread and butter topic, which is cuddling with men, because that kind of gets right back into embodiment and the fact that we have human bodies, that not only can we be naked with one another in a safe, non-sexual setting, we can also touch each other and it not be sexual either. And it can be platonic, and it can also be intimate, and it can also be a beautiful expression of brotherhood and expression of connection. And so, so I'm sure we will get to that topic before too long as well, because that's another one we've just kind of put on the shelf for a long, long time. There were so many stories shared today, and I appreciate all the yobbers for sharing them. Some people talked about like running in naked like road races and taking part in like naked retreats, being a part of naked naked yoga. That's scary. Naked yoga. And then also, I wanted to go back to Ryan for a second, because someone said, I have also modeled nude for artists and photographers in an effort to see myself as likable, desirable, decent looking. I distinctly remember, Mr. Ryan, that you said that this is something you did on the ConvoCast 100, where you teased nudity. I need this story. Can you tell this story briefly? Because you mentioned that you had posed nude. What was that about?
I have a friend who does fine art charcoal drawings, and I actually met him through Eugene, so mutual friend of Eugene.
No way! Shout out Eugene.
Yeah. And the subject of his art is often very biblical or spiritual, but also as somebody who sees a lot of beauty in the male body, he does use a lot of like nude male figure forms in his work. And so he had mentioned to me one time we were hanging out, he mentioned to me that one of his local friends was modeling for him in a drawing session later, and I was like, oh, maybe that's something I'm interested in. So yeah, I asked him if he wanted to do that, and he's like always down for more content. He's an artist. He loves new content. So that was a good experience. And I think like what I would say is that, well, it was good to feel like my body is worthy of being an artistic subject. I think that was really nice. And also like, I reflected on how like our community sometimes fixates on the K-spa as like the place where this sort of thing can happen, but there's actually like I think there's actually ways to be creative and be outside the box, and there's kind of like maybe some other space for cultural scripts, or I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like it doesn't have to be like I go to a specific public place to experience non-sexual companionable nudity. Like there can be other occasions for it if you are open to it and look for it.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you mentioned that. There's always been something about the K-spa where I'm like, why is it like this magnet that's pulling these people there? Like what like sinister thing is in the air that's bringing these people to this place where that's the only place they can do this in an acceptable way. So I appreciate you giving some like freedom, permission. I appreciate the hot tub story. Thanks y'all for sharing that too, of just like finding other appropriate ways. It doesn't have to just happen there. I've never even just been to a spa period, so I don't even know what the spa life is like that. Just that whole pamperedness is not something that I am just familiar with in general. So that's just a world I'm not familiar with, but stay tuned. Stay tuned if there's a follow-up to this story. Listeners, I want to hear from you. If any of the stories we shared, and we shared so many different ways of getting naked, or not, tell us a story. I would love to hear your perspective. You can either comment on this podcast, go to yourotherbrothers.org and find our episode 113 YOBcast episode post, or shoot me an email if you'd rather just send me a private story. you can do that as well. Tom at yourotherfamily.org. And if you want to leave us a voicemail as well, 1-706-389-8009. Would love to hear your story. That we haven't played a voicemail in a hot minute. So if you want to tell us a story in 3 minutes or less, tell it to the voicemail, and we'll play it on a future episode. So I just appreciate all the vulnerability. Yeah, just becoming more comfortable in our own skin. It's been a lifelong journey for me, and I've made a lot of progress. I know y'all have as well, and it's just cool to see the growth that's happening in our community. A lot of people that are still struggling with body image too. So I know we're all across the board as far as this topic in particular goes. So, yeah, just appreciate the opportunity to be seen in one way, shape, or form in this episode. So thanks, Ryan and Matt, and all the Yobbers out there and Eugene. Shout out to Eugene for contributing to this conversation. All right, y'all, we can get our clothes back on now. Thanks for doing this episode. Big sigh. Appreciate each of you, brothers. It's good to do this episode with you. Finally got that off the shelf. This is not the last time. We will talk about nudity again. There's so much more to dive into.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Even like breaking it down into like the four different those four categories, and even having like an episode on each of those. That
would be so great. Yeah. Let's make that a plan. Let's break it down. Who's ready for the clinical nudity episode?
I don't know if I have a ton to say about that. Could be,
We'll bring on our doctors.
With the copulatory nudity. I don't know if we have a ton.
Oh yeah,
it'd be a short. No,
one to say about that.
Yes. Shout out to anyone who wanted us to talk about sex today. Maybe because that's basically its own episode, is like talking about sex and nudity, which is not so much the focus of this episode, but that's another form of nudity. Yeah, there's so many.
What's sex?
True. Sex. SECKS.
Is that this segs that the kids are talking about?
Oh, segs. Yeah. SEGGs. Yeah. That's totally it. All right, for all your other brothers, this is Tom.
This is Ryan.
This is Matt.
Reminding you that you are not alone. Even the sparrow finds a home. Bye, friends.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Your Other Brothers podcast, a production of Your Other Family. We'd love your feedback. Comment on this or any of our podcast episodes at yourotherbrothers.org. You can also call us to ask a question or share a brief story at 1-706-389-8009. If you enjoyed this or any of the shows on Your Other Family Podcast Network, consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. You can also follow our family of socials on Facebook and Instagram at Your Other Fam, Your Other Bros, and Your Other Sisters, and on YouTube at Your Other Fam. Finally, if you enjoy our content, consider giving to support our nonprofit ministry. Check out our YOF giving link in the episode description. For membership in our YOB and YOS communities, submit an inquiry at yourotherbrothers.org/membership or yourothersisters.org/membership. There's always room for one more sparrow in our nest. Until we journey next time, we're glad you're with us.
Your Other Family.